Welcome back to another video, man. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 things that I wish I knew before buying a prop firm challenge. So without further ado, man, we're just going to get straight into it. Number 1, accepting that drawdown will happen and accepting that drawdown is okay, right? Because I believe as traders, and a lot of people aspire to be traders, they understand that drawdown will happen, but they don't fully accept it. So a lot of times what happens is, most people get what I call the lucky phase, right? Where the first couple trades, maybe the first 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trades are winners. So they get that false sense of reality and their false sense of perception where they think they're on top of the world. They don't expect to lose. So that as soon as they start taking that 1, that 2, that 3, that 4, that 5th drawdown, then everything went out the window because they didn't really accept it to begin with. All that really happened is that they got lucky and they didn't take any losing trades in the beginning, right? And I had a similar situation happen to myself where I was going through my phases of taking challenges. And I remember every single time my account would go 5% or more in drawdown, my brain would just go out the window, bro. Like the only thing I'll think about is, you know what? This account is already gone, it, and I'll just start doing stupid shit. I'll start over risking. I'll start taking a million different trades, and then I'll start speaking into life and thinking into life the idea that the account is gone. And guess what happens? 10 out of 10 times, the account is usually gone. And the only reason why that happened is because I didn't truly accepted the drawdown. I just got lucky with winning trades, so that when the losing trades started coming, it showed in the sense of I blew the account, right? So that's just number 1, is just truly accepting that drawdown is a part of the game and drawdown will happen. So tip number 2 is understanding that you will have to adapt in the charts, right? And I feel like that's a big thing, right? Because a lot of people, you may have a strategy that's working. It's hidden A+ head up left, A+ head up right. You have a strategy that's have a 70% win rate, or just a strategy where you're making consistent income, and all it really takes is Trump coming to market, or a lot of volatilities, or just a lot of unexpected things can happen where your strategy may not work in the sense of how you treat it, right? Example wise, maybe you're usually taking entries on just a 15-minute time frame, but because there's so much volatility, you have to go down to 5 minutes. You have to go into the 3 minutes. Maybe you could see structure the clear list on the 4-hour time frame or the daily time frame, but now you have to go to the 1 hour, right? Now, when I say understanding that you will have to adapt, it doesn't mean that you need to change your strategy. No, that's the complete opposite. I personally believe you shouldn't change the strategy. Once you have a strategy, keep it in place, but also understand there's certain little incremental parts about your strategy or about the way you're interpreting the market may have to change, because nothing stays the same forever, right? And it could also be just a simple tip. As I remember, there was a period in time where I was using copy trading for a very long period of time, and then it got to a point where MetaTrader was not a thing anymore, and the new broker, the new tool I was using to place trades didn't allow that. So I could have used that to get upset. I could have used that to say, damn, things change, it's not the same anymore. Or I can just understand that it's just part of the game. Things are changing and I just need to change with it, right? Because there's a quote out there that said, if you don't change with the times, you get left behind. So do you want to get left behind, or do you want to change with the time and move forward? So that's tip number 2, is understanding that you will have to adapt in these markets. Tip number 3, man, is don't predict, react. And I have a very personal relationship with this tip right here, right? Because I believe a lot of us in the charts, right, we may have a period where you're just hitting great trades. You're hitting the 1 to 4s, you're hitting the 1 to 5s, you're hitting 1 to 6, and then your brain start interpreting that that's going to happen all the time. And then what happens with a lot of people is now you're predicting what you want the market to do, because you have a certain image in your mind of what you want to get out of it, right? 9 out of 10 times it always fails, right? Because no one really predicts the market. All you're really doing is interpreting data. You're just watching what the market is telling you, and you're reacting as seeing, okay, Maybe you have this certain zone and this certain area marked up that's the best high probability setups, but sometimes the market and price may not be in that area, right? And you have to have the discipline to say, you know what, even though I have this general idea of what I want, I have to wait and I have to react. And right now the market is not at the place where I need to be taking this trade. So I need to be patient and react and wait for it to get there, right? But what a lot of people do is, because they're in the market, they think I have to place a trade. And then what usually happens with that is now you're predicting. You're thinking if price gets here, this will be a 1 to 4. This could be a 1 to 3. This could be, whatever number you have in your mind. And then you start placing a trade that's not even there in the first place. So that's tip number 3, man, is do not predict, react to what the market data is telling you. Tip number 4, man, one of the very important ones I had to learn myself is do not set targets. Don't set any targets. I understand that this can be a little tricky for a lot of people, especially if you come from the real world, right? Because in the real world, to be able to achieve the things you want to achieve, you have to set targets, right? In trading, the market is very unpredictable, right? And just because you want to make a certain amount of money in that period of time, it doesn't mean you're gonna make that amount of money in that period of time. And also with you setting targets, especially what a lot of people do by setting daily and weekly targets, you're assuming that the market is also predictable. And the market is not predictable, right? You can have a pattern that appears over and over, but it's not always guaranteed, right? Because sometimes you can have a very solid setup. It's a A+++++, and it still loses, right? So having that mindset of not setting targets is going to allow you to be more patient in the market. It's going to allow you to save that cushion for those rainy trades, right? And what I've noticed, because it happens with myself, is we'll set these targets, what we want to achieve, and a lot of times the market might not be ready, or it might not be in the right place, but because you already said, I need to make 3% this week, I need to make $3,000 a week, or whatever number or percentage you have in mind, you start forcing things and you start rushing your process. And then by the time your actual trade idea comes, that could be 2-3 weeks from now, then you don't have the cushion to actually capitalize on it, right? A lot of times in these charts and in the markets, you may have an overall target as far as like you want to make $100,000, but it's not going to come in every single week you make $25,000, because that's not how the market works. A lot of times what happens is you have one select period out of time out of the entire week or the entire month or the entire year that makes you the most money. And that's why tip number 4 is that you should never set targets. Now for tip number 5, I want you to pay very, very close attention, because it might go over some of y'all's heads. Tip number 5 is have an amount, whether it's a dollar amount, whether it's a percentage amount, that you're okay with making for that select period of time, right? Now, I know in the last tip I said don't set target, and some of you might say, well, Kaz, you're saying don't set target, but you're also saying have something you're okay with. Yes, 100%. Now, let me break it down for y'all. What that means by having an amount you're okay with. A lot of times in these charts, there are infinite amount of opportunities, which means there's infinite amount of perceived opportunity of how much money you can make, right? Like I said earlier, sometimes you can have a setup that looks perfect. It looks perfect to the T. It's a setup you've taken thousands, if not hundreds of times, and it still become a loser. Now, with you having that mindset of having a target that you're okay with, it allows you to, number one, save that cushion. Because a lot of time what happens is, a lot of people can make a good amount of money. You can make the 3,000, the 4,000, the 5-6% by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and by Thursday, Friday, you either lost it all or now you're in the negative. And that's because you didn't have an amount that you had to yourself that was okay enough. And what a lot of times what happens is, you end up closing the week, losing all the profits, and then you spend the next week trying to make back the profits you make, and then the same cycle just keep repeating over and over again. And I'm speaking from experience, because that happened to me before, where I had a week where I made 5-6%, and by Thursday, Friday, because I didn't have an amount that I was okay with for the week, I kept trading, I lost it all, and I had like a whole week, or I had a whole month of going through the same cycle. And as soon as I decided, you know what, I'm not going to set a target for 3%, but if it gets to a certain day in the week that I know tends to be where the cutoff period is, and I'm up a certain amount, I'm just gonna cut it there. So that's tip number 5, man, is have an amount, whether it's a dollar amount, whether it's a percentage amount that you're okay with making. So just to recap everything, man, tip number 1, man, is accepting that drawdown will happen no matter what. Tip number 2 is understand that you will have to adapt something in the markets. Don't mean change your strategy, but something will get adapted, whether it's the way you're looking at it, whether it's your process, you will have to adapt. Tip number 3 is do not try to predict the market. React to what the data is telling you and showing you. Tip number 4 is don't set targets. And then tip number 5 is having an amount that you're okay with making, right? So thank you all for tuning into the video, man. If you found value in today's topics, definitely go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can tune into the channel. Click the notification bell down below just so you are notified when I make another video. Comment down below your favorite tip or your favorite takeaway from this video. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all on the next video. Peace.